Move over, Nelly Furtado, because this man-eater puts yours to shame. A goddess of love, beauty, desire, and all things sexuality, this absolute bombshell had the ability to create insane levels of thirst in both the gods and mortals. So potent were her lust-generating abilities that there were only 3 beings in the entirety of the Greek Pantheon that could say no. It would be like slapping down a doner kebab in front of me and saying, I'm not allowed to eat it. It's already gone, mate. Hello, I am the equally desirable Adam, and welcome to Pantheon Mythology. Today we'll be looking into the background and story of one, if not the most iconic figures of sex across all of mythology, Aphrodite. There are a couple of versions of how this goddess came to be. Legendary writer Homer states in his Iliad that she was born from the union between Zeus and the Titaness Dione. The other version, which I much prefer, describes how a fallout between the Titan Uranus and his own son Cronus led to the latter castrating his father with a sickle before launching the severed genitalia into the sea. Upon hitting the water, a godly foam bubbled away, from which Aphrodite appeared, fully grown, unclothed, and more enchanting than anything anyone had ever seen in the history of everything. Now that's an entrance. Her place of birth is believed to be near the island of Cyprus, and it is claimed that when flying over the waters, if the sea is clear and the conditions are perfect, you can in fact catch a glimpse of the giant pair of testicles that once belonged to the great Titan, still foaming away. Being a goddess, it wasn't long before Aphrodite found her way to the highest point in ancient Greece, Mount Olympus, and here, due to her unimaginable allure, she caught the eye of all the gods. Only 3 of them were able to resist her charm, the virgin goddess Artemis, Athena, and Hestia. To prevent an all-out battle royale amongst the horny deities, Zeus married her to Hephaestus, who unfortunately didn't score highly on the good-looking barometer, although I'm sure he was beautiful on the inside. Now, I'd love to say they lived happily married for the rest of time, but this is Greek mythology, and we know that things wouldn't feel right without a lot of adultery. Let the affairs begin. Ares, the stud muffin, was the god of war, chaotic and violent. Who doesn't love a bad boy, eh? After numerous moments of passion between the two, the sun god Helios caught them in the act and informed Hephaestus of their shenanigans. As the god of the forge, Hephaestus was a master craftsman and upon learning about the affair, crafted a golden net that would trap them next time they lay together. To make things worse, Hephaestus summoned the rest of the Olympians to get an eyeful of the 2 rascals while Helios shone his rays down over the couple. They remained encaged until the god of the sea, Poseidon, agreed to pay for their release. No doubt he fancied a piece of the action. Through her relationship with Ares, she bore 4 sons, Eros, Anteros, Deimos, Phobos, and daughter Harmonia. Upon seeing Aphrodite post-Nucky, Poseidon's mind went to a raunchy place, and clearly he had one thing in mind. Grateful for the support he showed her amongst the revelation of the affair with Ares, it wasn't long before she found herself in the act of fornication with the sea god himself, having 2 daughters, Rhodos and Herophilos. Another name to add to her little black book was the messenger god, and only living being able to outrun Usain Bolt, Hermes. Quick across the ground and possibly in the bedroom, Aphrodite had at least one fling with the speedster as she had a son with him, named Hermaphroditos. Also, we have the god of wine, Dionysus. Whether there was wine involved or not, a brief encounter ensured that the goddess of love had yet another child with an Olympian. This time, Priapos. A child that was sadly cursed to be ugly by the queen of Olympus, Hera, due to her displeasure with the rising body count that Aphrodite boasted. Some sources also claim that Zeus made a pass at the beauty when she first set foot on land. However, she rejected his advances and fled, although others counter this, stating that Zeus was her father, as alluded to earlier as one of her origin stories. Regardless, Aphrodite had successfully worked her way through the majority of the gods who ruled over ancient Greece, barring Hades. But he lived in the underworld where she didn't spend much time, so this makes sense. Aphrodite's insatiable appetite, however, was not limited to the divine beings, and poor old Hephaestus had to endure his wife running off with mere mortals, like us. One of her most notable affairs with a human is with Adonis, a man of remarkable beauty, of which Aphrodite discovered as a baby next to a tea near the underworld. She took the youngster to Persephone, who cared for him and raised him. Years later, Aphrodite returned to visit the now grown Adonis, and she was taken aback by his handsomeness and requested she have him back as her own. Persephone wasn't too keen and refused, so Zeus stepped in and told the two goddesses that they would have to share the man, dividing his time between them. Preferring his time with Aphrodite, Adonis didn't want to return to the underworld, which ultimately led to his death, as the jealous wife of Hades sent a wild boar to end him. 2 children were born from this union, Beroe and Golgos. Eventually, Hephaestus and Aphrodite would divorce, which is evidenced by many sources stating that the goddess and Ares were together during the Trojan War. Speaking of the Trojan War, Aphrodite is reportedly for the war, at least somewhat. According to legend, at the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, the goddess of strife Eris offered a golden apple for the most beautiful goddess in all of Greece. Competing for this honor was Hera and Athena, while Zeus appointed the Trojan prince Paris as judge. To gain favor with Prince Paris, Athena promised him strength and invincibility. Hera offered the regions of Asia and Europe, while Our Lady Aphrodite promised the most beautiful woman in the world, barring herself, of course. The prince chose the beautiful woman, and therefore Aphrodite, as the winner, and with that was gifted Helen of Sparta. Unfortunately, Helen was an already married woman, wife to Menelaus. This act sparked a reaction from the Spartan king, who sent his brother Agamemnon to travel to Troy with a Spartan squad and take back Helen, which in turn triggered the decade-long Trojan War. With looks to die for, and a body count that rivals John Wick, except lovers rather than corpses, it would be easy to mistake Aphrodite as a warm, kind-hearted goddess. She is, after all, the deity of love. But oh, no. This is ancient Greece, remember, ladies and gentlemen, and the Olympians were often a despicable bunch. An example of this can be seen in a myth described in Apollonius of Rhodes' Argonautica. When the women of the island of Lemnos refused to sacrifice to Aphrodite, the goddess cursed them to stink horribly so their husbands would never have sex with them. Nothing worse than stinky intercourse, eh? This caused the men of the island to instead mate with their slaves, and in a fit of rage the women of Lemnos murdered the entire male population of the island, as well as all of the Thracian slaves. When Jason, of Jason and the Argonauts, stumbled on the island of Lemnos, he and his crew mated with the sex-starved women under Aphrodite's approval and repopulated the island. It's unconfirmed if the ladies were stench-free at this point. Most importantly though, the females of Lemnos never disrespected Aphrodite again. While many others, both gods and mortals, have felt the wrath of Aphrodite, the moral of the story remains: do not, for the love of God, get on her bad side. So, there we have it then. Aphrodite, a lady of infinite beauty and sex appeal, but also devious and capable of cruelty. What are your thoughts on this goddess, and do you think you'd be strong enough to resist her advances? If you love mythology, check out our clothing brand Pantheon Apparel, featuring designs inspired by the gods and goddesses from around the globe. Why not represent your favourite deity today? We'll leave a link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, as it helps the algorithm, and subscribe if you're new here. There's a random video on the left now which YouTube thinks you'll love. I dare you to click on it. Most importantly of all though, thanks for watching. See you next time.